Welcome in to the Baylor postgame show here on Sigma 365's YouTube channel, 365 Sports. I'm Paul Catalina alongside Garrett Ross. And Baylor falls 59-25. I don't think any of us had that particular score in our predictions or the bingo card, but nobody was really that far off from a blowout. This game went down exactly as everybody kind of thought it would. Baylor, early on, had some signs of life and played with more energy than they have, but defensively they had no answers for Kansas State. And then when Kansas State got comfortable, they just kept coming at Baylor and coming at Baylor and coming at Baylor and bringing them into mistakes. And Garrett, these shows are getting harder and harder to do because these games are more and more predictable in how they're going. And, I know that the whole conversation in the chat room is going to be fire the coaching staff. Again, I'll say I don't see a path forward especially if they're 3-9, but it just kind of shows the state of the program is that's what we have to talk about right now.
Yeah, it's pretty disheartening. I think if you go back and look at how this game started for Baylor offensively, that was the best drive. I think you can make an argument that was the best drive they've had all season long. I know you probably have to go to the UCF game on that magical comeback. But no, they actually looked like a competent, a sound football team, had a game plan drawn up. I mean, you were throwing balls to Dabney. You had Dawson Pendergrass running the rock. He looked good. The offensive line looked like they came out there to play, and then reality set in. And it was so baffling to see how this game went from 7-7 to just self-inflicted wounds, and Kansas State just completely opened it up. Man, it's really difficult to kind of pinpoint everything that's going on. I really do feel horrible for Blake Shapen.
Yeah.
Because, he literally is doing everything he can, and he has no time whatsoever. The stat line he put up, you would take – his stat line is almost identical to Will Howard's, right? He threw for 253 yards, 4 TDs, 1 touchdown. Howard, 235 yards and 3 TDs. Obviously, the interception was crucial, man, but it's not Shapen. He has nothing to work with. Later on in the game, you started seeing when he would get the ball out, you would have receivers dropping it. It's bad, man, and I really don't know what you could do to salvage at this point.
No, I don't either. Okay, I'm going to go to the chat room in a couple comments. Ryan says, I'm about to talk for 30 minutes how Baylor fans expect too much for Dave Aranda. I have never once said that.
No.
I did say that he got caught in a weird time, and he didn't react the right way to it.
He addressed that.
But he has addressed that. And two, Bill Hollis says, Ryan, #truth. They both just can't call him dead. I'm just telling you I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm not Mac Rhodes.
And I'm not Mac Rhodes. I'm also not here to tell people to get who to fire or not, but I am telling you, and when I tell you I don't see a path forward for Dave Aranda, what do you think that means?
Yes.
What do you think that means, man? What do you think? If they're 3-9, and bottom line is, and here's what Mac Rhodes has to consider. This is all mathematics at this point.
Yes.
Is Dave Aranda's buyout cheaper than the gigantic drop in ticket sales, the players they'll lose in the transfer portal, all of those
recruits that they're not going to
get, all of that math. What is the math of that? I don't know, and I can't tell you. One, because I have no idea what their NIL potential or setup is. I have no idea. I have no idea if they could just go in and money whip people into coming to Baylor. I have no idea. I don't.
Yeah, even if you can't, okay, the NIL thing, I understand that's a logical point and everything, but even if Baylor has an opportunity to get the NIL on par, what have they done? What have they shown that would make key players available in the portal want to come? Or key players, you're not going to – all right, to me, NIL I think, okay, there's two ways of looking at NIL. Everybody gets it, and everybody gets players. All the players get paid on a team, right?
Yeah.
The true NIL, the true difference-making NIL is when you go and get 4- and 5-star dogs, difference makers on every play. Baylor traditionally hasn't gotten that. I don't give a damn how much NIL you got. They probably aren't going to get those dudes in here regardless. So I feel like that's kind of a blanketed excuse for a bigger problem.
Look, and it is. There's a list of problems, right?
Yes.
There's a list. And if Dave Aranda is the guy to fix those problems, then that's a thing that Matt Rhodes has to decide. And then he has to do the sell job of all sell jobs to get the Baylor fans to believe it, because the way this team is played, it's hard to picture them running it back the same way. Like coordinator changes, they've done that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. It's just like, I know that you guys want me to come out and like, after these games, like match your energy of this guy needs to be fired and this guy needs to be fired and here's how it goes down. Like I'm not that dude. I really, honestly, with the I'll say when I think changes, I can see changes being made, and then I can tell you when I don't think they're being made. I'm just trying to speak from my job is to give you the overall view,
right,
and my opinion on things. And yeah, I think it's going to be tough for Baylor to move forward with Dave Aranda as their head coach. 1,000% it's going to be tough if they make that decision. But if they make that decision, we need to find out what the reasons are behind said decision and then move forward. And I do think this, the biggest problem that Mack Rhodes has in the back of his mind is if Dave Aranda is this, football savant genius guy, and then he gets fired from here, and 5 years from now, he goes to be a defensive coordinator for 2 years somewhere, and then his third year at X school, he is hoisting conference title trophies and playing in the college football playoff. He's going to be, man, I should have waited that out. I should have just let him figure it out. And now, but I mean, those things have consequences all the way down the line for everybody involved. The football coach hire is the most important thing you can do
right.
At an athletic department. So all these things have to happen. 254-339-1122. I'm not going to be the guy who's there. But when I tell you that, I don't see the path forward, and I've said it on the show, every show that I do, whether it's the 365 Sports Show, this show, the Triple Option, whenever it comes up, I'll just tell you, I'm having a hard time seeing the path forward. That makes sense because of the financial math involved in this. But I don't know, and I'll never know. We'll never know because Baylor doesn't have to sell that, what all the numbers are. I don't know. And so the thing that I would think is that if they're willing to roll the dice on the ticket sales being tough, because the ticket sales are going to be tough, regardless of how good a coach Dave Aranda may or may not be in the future. It's going to be tough selling tickets because people are just going to say, we just saw it again. We can't wrap our heads around it. And that's where I am. I just can't wrap my head around all of that because there's so many more factors into doing this. I'll give you the example of Jimbo Fisher at A&M. The only thing at a school that is just a wash in oil money and all kind of other money that's keeping them is even super wealthy people know that if you're going to have two head coaches, one that you're paying not to work for you and one that you are paying to work for you, the reason you stay wealthy is you don't pay two guys to do one job that only one guy does.
Correct.
And so that's why they're trying to wrestle with it in their head, even though they know what they're getting. And so and the problem is that these athletic departments negotiate against themselves and they give these gigantic contracts or whatever. And they, then they're like, well, now we've got to pay all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And in the last 2 years, especially when you come to coach buyouts, well, if you've got to go to some alums to cover a buyout, which they do that, but a lot of that comes out of the university fund to buy out those coaches. It does not come strictly from boosters. It comes from money they've already given. Or the university already has, and two, what do you have to do in the background? But some of that money that you've asked donors for, now you're going to ask them, I need you not only to buy out a coach, but now I need you to pay for some players too. It gets harder and harder.
Well, on top of that, for Baylor specifically, you're also in a process right now where you are doing massive projects across your university. You got the basketball arena going up. That is millions of dollars.
Facility.
You got the football operations facility. You have so many other things that you're doing right now, along with trying to get your NIL on par and everything. The buyouts, you are. And I know if realistically, if people, the big money people wanted Aranda gone or whatever, they could make it happen. But I think there are still more obstacles to go over. And then you've got to figure out who is going to be the right person. There's a whole transition there. I think it's more complicated than, just saying it. But at the same time, I will say this. If this was happening at my favorite school, I would be right there with the fans. I would be wanting to change. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. It's not our place to make that decision, but I agree with you that I don't see it getting any better, and that's not for me to make that. At the end of the day, that's not for me or you to make that decision.
Yeah, again, I'm just telling you, like, this is what we see. I don't see it getting any better at A&M. I don't see it getting any better at Baylor. Like, I don't.
And TCU might be finding this out in a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you had your moment where, I mean, we'll see. Like, things change really fast, and so whatever's going to happen with Baylor is going to happen really fast. If there's anybody in the world who can put this in perspective, it is Raymond. From Waco.
That is the man.
Raymond, thanks for your call.
Hey, what's going on, Paul?
Hey, Raymond.
Hey, cheer up, man. The Seminoles are winning, dude.
Yeah, believe me, I'm watching.
He's watching it.
I've got one eye on Garrett, one eye on this screen. So.
Yeah. Hey, anyways, hey, look, man. Baylor is in a situation where you got 4 stars, and every now and then you got 5 stars that want to come and play in Baylor. They even do visits. They want to come to Baylor, but these recruits, they see that there's something wrong with the coaching staff. Okay, and there's one thing that David Randa better understand, that he's got to grow a backbone and a thick skin, and not be so sensitive about hurting, other people's feelings. This is a job. I've had many, many bosses, and they have no feelings of firing you. Why? Because it's a job. Mm-hmm. So if he's going to fire somebody or some people, he better do it right now, because it's either him or the other guys, or it's everybody.
Yeah. Raymond, thanks for your call, man. All right. Always love hearing from Raymond. I feel like I should record all those and send them to Q.
Oh, Q would love it.
But no, Raymond makes a good point. It's that they get guys on visits. The thing is that there's a lot of schools that get guys on visits and then get them here. They've got to start getting guys that, like, when they're in the visits, they get them over the finish line and committed.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's not even that. Like, they've got to develop players. They've got to find guys that fit. They've got to start running a system that fits the talent that they can recruit too.
I think that's a big thing there.
Like I think the biggest thing when you get down to Jeff Grimes and the offensive staff is the wide zone the wrong system to run, not for who they were 3 years ago, but for who they are now. They did not replenish the people that left with the same kind of players.
I would push back a little bit because, and a little bit. I think if you see there are flashes, and I think you saw it today, where the wide zone would work. And I think Pendergrass is like your ideal wide zone back. When I was watching this game today, I had this thought. I was thinking, is the problem, and I know a lot of people are going to rip me to hell for this, how much of the problem really is Grimes? And because, yes, some of his play calling has been questionable, but at the end of the day, if they had any sense of a competent offensive line, I think they could run that offense with some of the backs.
But that's what I'm talking about. That's the people that they didn't get. That's who's key in running the wide zone.
So I didn't know, but what I'm coming from at that is, I don't know, and I know at the end of the day, Grimes probably has more so of a say because he's over the offense. Aranda has definitely the say because he's the head man. But how much of that is like truly Mateos? Like, dude, that is terrible evaluation of what you got out of the portal, what you're recruiting. It's not working. And that, to me, I think if you had an offensive line that could block, just half-ass block, then I think you could run the wide zone somewhat. But I do agree, in Texas, it's not working. The kids you're recruiting run spread constantly. That's what everybody wants. But at the same time, I would say be cautious with that because Oklahoma's running it, TCU's running it, Clemson's running it, and it is not working for any of them.
Yeah. There's a system that's out there that works that will work for who they can get.
But you know what I said? They want the Bryles offense. That's what it is.
Yeah. No, it's things are different now. By the way, Oklahoma State got 4.5 minutes left to go in that game. Well, maybe less now. Hold on, let me hit reload. But 45-3, 4.5 minutes left in that one. And so some interesting shakeups in the Big 12 today. Kansas lost to Texas Tech. Oklahoma State lost. Texas has TCU tonight. If TCU can somehow pull off a miracle, then that makes the Big 12 even messier. But, look, Kansas State was already behind the 8 ball because they have losses to Texas and Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't going to, this only helps them in that if they went out and Oklahoma State loses one. But 45-3, what a game for the Gus bus rolling along.
I never even imagined that doesn't even. I thought Ollie Gordon would have a career day against that terrible defense. I got to go back and watch that game.
Hey, way to go! You see, I say way to go. I don't have a dog in the hunt either way, but
it's nice to see a new team win.
I like Gus. Way to rally. I do too. All right, let's go to call. Thanks for calling. Yes.
Yeah, it's good talking with you guys again. Thanks for the opportunity. And listening to the last interview, the one-on-one interview with Aranda, it was a little bit embarrassing because I understand he's having a hard season. But if Aranda gets to the point that he'll have to leave, I hope he'll leave as a winner because he's a winner. He had a great 2021 season, and I had a lot of fun watching that team. And listening to the last interview, he just seems lost. It was kind of embarrassing to listen to his words. And I hope that if he gets to the point that he leaves, I hope that the fans will appreciate Aranda for what he did at Baylor. And somehow back to the point that I asked last week, my concern is if Baylor just makes a decision to have a different head coach, especially listening to what Aranda said, it looks like he's not having great support in NIL. So I don't have much hope that if he leaves, we'll have a great coach, or if a great coach would be willing to come to Baylor if the person doesn't receive the right support. So would love to hear y'all's input about that. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Call. Always enjoy talking to you. It's a fantastic point to make in that, look, any coach that comes in, you're going to have to make promises and assurances, and things are going to have to change, and this has had to be better. But the first question I'm going to ask if I'm a prospective candidate is, what is the NIL situation here? And if you say it's not good, what can I do to make it better? Who do I need to talk to? Or are the people here and they're not are they not doing it because they don't want to, or is it just not there? And if it's not there, then you say, well, I might just stay at the other place I have until I can go to someplace. So it makes it all of the new world of college football makes it harder for everybody in those things because you never really had to worry about it before. You had to be like, oh, what are your facilities like? What's the support like? Can I have the assistant coaches I want to hire? All those things. And now it's going to be, can you make sure that everybody is taken care of? And that's a completely different animal.
I think that's a question I would ask too. But my second question, or the one I might even ask before that, is, even if we're in the all right, my second question would be, you laid that out for me at what our NIL situation is, and say we've heard it's on par with everybody in the Big 12. If that's the case, my next question would be, how do I word this? How do we make it easier to get people in the transfer portal allowed to come into Baylor? Because that's, I think, is the hiccup. I think that there's the standards and everything to come into this school, and we've seen it across multiple sports now since the transfer portal is open. There have been multiple players who've had difficult opportunities getting into Baylor, or once they did, they will be on campus and they still would have to wait out and everything. What is that process like? How can we help out with that process? Because if you're not able to get players in the transfer portal, I don't care about your NIL. That's going to, if I'm a coach, I'm not coming here. I'm not coming here.
I have to answer that question specifically, Garrett. I have been told by people on both sides of that issue that that it is not. One of them will say, yes, we need to change some things, And I think what they want to change as far as getting people in is maybe like looking at some people who have, like if they have some maybe rougher backgrounds, like get into specifics as opposed to the policy post Bryles was anybody who's done anything ever, they can't take the chance. Like, can they bend that around a little bit and make it seem and make it like have a different policy? But on the admission side, I've been told that it's never been an issue. Like,
there's no way you cannot sell me on that. It has damn sure been an issue.
Well, as far as grades go, like they don't, because like Notre Dame and other places, they're not going to go fishing in the ponds that they know it's going to be dicey, right? Now, there are some great stories in the past of like the Xavier Howard story about how schools didn't recruit him because they thought he was in remedial classes because he had an R on his transcript, and it was just he was in the remote buildings because the school was a little larger. And they're like, no, I mean, it's a 4.0 student. He's a smart guy. Yeah. Like he's not killing it in the remedial classes because we don't want to, rough up his day. I understand you not believing it. I'm just telling you what I've been told. Like, and I trust the source that that's not been an issue, and that there have been a couple of people that have been pushed back on and didn't get in over the last few years. Like, but not enough to where it is like a water wall of no's. So yeah, like I think there can be probably some. Like again, I agree with you. They
massage the situation.
You need to look at what is your system? How's your system set up now for that thing? So you can go after the players that you want. Now, granted. But also, like, because Baylor is the kind of school that it is, not everybody wants to come there. So you got to, but what they need to do is, because there's plenty of people who would want to come to a school like Baylor, would love to, they need to make sure that everybody who wants to do that can.
Correct.
As long as they hit certain criteria. I think that's probably the what you're getting at. It's like, if you got guys who legitimately want to come here and you can make everything to make them come here, then you have to do that. But it's a very tough sell. Right now going forward, because everything that Dave Aranda does has to assure people, and it's not just this year. They've gone 3-11 in their last 14 games.
Yeah.
So, and haven't looked good in the 3.
No.
So that is where this gets even trickier over and over and over again, is that you're not talking about one bad year. You're talking about a bad year and a half now, almost, which would be, you'll say that they lose their last 3. That makes them 3-14 in their last 17 games.
Right.
And that's a long time to a lot of games. And I guess it'd be their last 2. So they'd be 3-16. But, not making a bowl game, that should be for what this has been established. This is not the old Baylor anymore. Like, they have to be able to have the years where, okay, look, you lost a lot of players, you had some injuries, but 7-5, 6-6 would be the absolute nightmare of a season. Especially you have to build that going into this conference. That's going to be, this is a new conference next year.
Yeah.
It's a new conference this year, and then it's an even newer one next year. You're going to have to approach things differently. And that is the question they have to answer. We haven't even talked X's and O's on this thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Not once. Jeez. Sorry.
You're good. Jordan Travis. Sack.
We haven't talked it once on this, and it's because it doesn't
compute
to bear it, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, all right. 254-339-1122 is the call-in number. Got about 5 minutes left in the show. Because again, I'm not we can't just harp on and harp on and harp on. But
okay. So there were some good things today. I'm not gonna. There were, you scored 25 points, laugh, whatever. There were some good things that happened today, and I know we have to see TCU tonight against Texas, but I did personally come away a little more confident that they could make it at least competitive with TCU next week. what was your takeaway from this game? What were some of the positive, if any, that you could kind of look
they
at?
started out better.
They did
They started
out
better. They just could not, like, Baylor can't seem to do two good things in a row.
No.
So they go, like, it's 7-0, then boom, it's 7-7. What do? You kick off. You almost let them get to midfield. They score on that drive. So you follow up a good thing with a bad thing. That's just not how you win, right?
Fumble snaps, bobble, like that was terrible. Special teams have been pretty bad since the award came out.
All right, let's go to Keith. Keith, thanks for your call.
Hey guys, I'm honestly at a loss, but I'm just trying to figure out what one or two things we could do to see if there's going to be progress between now and the end of the season. I mean, I feel like we can salvage somewhat of a season if we take care of TCU, but I don't know. I'm just looking for a bright spot, one or two things.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Again, who is TCU, Keith? And thanks for your call. Who is TCU that they're going to see next week? We don't really know.
They're definitely not Kansas State. I can
no,
tell
they're
you that.
not. I mean, there's some opportunity there, but I do worry about one thing with TCU, and that especially since he hasn't had a good few weeks, Kendall Briles has got whatever good, like kind of like Gary Patterson before him now. Like whatever like good play, like game plan he has in the book.
He's probably got a special game plan for Baylor.
Yeah, no, that's
like seriously.
Yes.
Like he's been working on for probably about 7 years.
He's been thinking about this one quite a bit.
Yes. That's my concern.
Yes. No, I so that I'm not going to give you false hope because I don't know. Like, start faster again. The offensive line, maybe able to play a little bit better.
Well, you will,
but
you'll also be without Ebiselli, right? Since
Yeah.
he got ejected, he's going to miss at least the first half. So that's more offensive line woes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Keith. I really don't. As far as optimism, I've also not been known as the most optimistic human being that you're ever going to meet.
No, you're not. Me either.
I'm better than I used to be, believe me, but I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'll describe it as this. The glass half full and half empty thing, I'm like, no, there's a glass.
It's there.
Let's see what happens with the glass.
It's probably going to get knocked over and spilt.
So, yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's what I was looking for that too, man. I'm trying to find some silver linings in here to help going into TCU. I mean, I still believe Blake Shapen's, playing tremendously given the circumstances. He's putting up good numbers. You've got to get a running back to get over 100 yards. That's ridiculous. Richard Reese has got to get more than 3 damn carries for 3 yards. That's inexcusable.
Those are the things that just haven't changed all year, right, Garrett?
Yes.
Is that they haven't figured that out. And I think that's the biggest thing the coaching staff is going to look at. How do we have the Big 12 freshman of the year come back and then what happened where he's not even a part of the game plan?
I don't know. I think you did see some flashes today of I think Devin Bobby played pretty good. Caden Jenkins still come up with a couple of big plays. There's hope there. This was definitely, and the defensive line looked the best they have, which is not saying much.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But they still gave up 59 points.
Yeah.
59 points. And when it comes down to the end of it, that's just all that there is. All right, thanks for jumping on with us here. At the end of the game, after the game's over, and doing that. So, Chris Ford, who used to intern for us, can Coach Smokey give us tips on Monday how to maintain our composure in support of a terrible football team in Nebraska? That was a dark, Chris. Uncalled for. All right, that's going to do it for us. Have a great day, everybody. Please make it better than it was before. Every time you wake up. I don't know, that was a terrible way to end the show.
That was.
Listen. I'll just do what Drew Carey does at the end of every Price is Right. Love yourself and everybody else. Take care of yourself. We love you.